Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you to the African Beat
and Caribbean Heat podcast.
It's your boy, Obadola, aka Dollar Man.
And I'm Queen Teah. Welcome back to our podcast.
Yes. We're happy to have a new podcast today.
Yeah. How you doing today?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Had a
So-
nice day today.
That's good.
Yeah.
Today's weather is nice, like
hmm
compared to 3 days ago when it was like really cold and snowing.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
crazy how like the weather here is just up and down, up and down. I know we
Yeah.
talk about the weather a lot, but that's just what we've been living.
Yeah, that's the American life. Weather.
Yeah,
It's very
here.
important.
Yeah. Like last weekend we had snow and it was like, I don't even know, like 2, 3 inches of snow overnight. So I wasn't expecting to wake up
Yeah.
to that. So
It's
that
good.
thing, it messed up my whole day. But
It's crazy. A lot of
hmm
shoveling and stuff.
I know. And then like it warms up, so then all the snow melts.
No,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
The,
So today was nice. Today the weather was pretty mild. I think tomorrow is supposed to be really nice too.
That's good.
So
That's good. I think we're getting to spring.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so it gets
Yep.
a little better, and
Mhm.
that's what we need. We need the weather to get more better.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, every time I go through winter, I always think like, man, it's just 3 months, 3 months. Just get through 3 months, just
Yeah,
get through the 3 months, so you can just make it to spring and summer.
yeah,
Those are my favorite
yeah.
seasons here.
That 3 months is like forever.
It seems like it is,
It
huh?
feels like forever.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So this episode, I wanted to spend some time talking about um, parenting dynamics. So
Mm,
we use our podcast to talk about a lot of topics, mainly in the space of like relationship and just the differences between men and women. And a lot of times, like our positions are opposing. We
mm,
have different viewpoints when it comes to different things in that space. Um, but I want to talk a little bit today about co-parenting. So, um, what is your understanding of the term
oh,
co-parenting?
Co-parenting.
hmm
It has a nice name to it.
Okay.
Co, like
Co,
co-worker,
like co-pilot.
co-pilot.
Yeah.
My understanding of co-parenting is
hmm
two parents that are no more together,
Okay.
and they put the kids first and take turns to be in the kid's life.
Okay.
And mostly the mom has the kid,
Okay.
has custody of the kid,
Okay.
while the dad gets turns
hmm
to spend time with the kid in the Western world um, way. But in Africa,
hmm
um, sometimes the dad has custody of the kids,
Okay.
meaning either the dad's mother is taking care of the kid, or the dad's siblings is taking care of the kid, like his sister,
hmm
while he supports financially in aspect and
Okay.
be around.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's different ways here and
hmm
different ways in Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I hear you explain about co-parenting that um, it's a situation where the parents are no longer together and they're essentially raising the children or the child together.
Yeah.
Um, you also mentioned that typically in the Western part of the world that the mother is the one that's given custody of the child when the father can have like visitation or will have some time with the child. And you mentioned also too, like in Africa,
Hmm.
um, that in situations where uh, there's co-parenting, it's more so the father has custody of the child.
Hmm.
But then you also mentioned too that um, a lot of times it's either the father's mother that's taking care of the child or his siblings, like his sister,
Hmm.
taking care of the child. So I'm not really hearing that he himself, outside of like the financial provision, like him,
Hmm.
working and providing financially for the child, that he's actually taking care of like the nurturing and the raising of the child. Is that accurate or does it
Mm,
depend?
no, like it takes a village to raise a child. That's
Mm-hmm.
one. Two,
Mm-hmm.
mother have more nurturing, and
Mm-hmm.
the nurturing can come from the mom, the grandmother, the auntie, can come
Okay.
from any of the family member, because when you do the traditional rites, the child is is the child belongs to the father.
Okay.
So if it didn't work with the woman and
Mm-hmm.
the family of the man wants to take up the child,
Mm-hmm.
then they can take up the child.
Okay.
If they cannot, then the child will be with the mom, and the man will be visiting the child,
Okay.
and sometimes we'll pick up the child to
Mm-hmm.
raise the child. So it
Mm-hmm.
depends on how they make it work together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I kind of get the sense that it's more so like a female role, right? When you
Hmm.
think of nurturing and providing the day to day raising of the child, it's more so looked at from it being more so of a female role,
Yeah.
is what that sounds like to me. Okay. When I think of co-parenting, I too view it as a situation where you have two parents that are no longer in relationship, whether it be that they're no longer married or they're no longer together, but they are sharing parenting rights for the child. Um, you are right. Typically, in this part of the world, you see in most cases that the child
Hmm.
is placed, with the mom having full custody of the child,
Yeah.
and the father working out an arrangement, whether it be just, the two of them working out the arrangement, or, unfortunately getting the legal system involved to, kind of decide how they should share or break up the time for the child.
Yeah.
um, it's never really a situation where it's going to be 50-50. It can never
No.
be even. I mean,
No.
just given the number of days in a week, there's seven, and seven
Yeah.
is an odd number, right?
Yeah.
So that means that somebody's going to be short, so to speak, a day.
Hmm.
um, but even before looking at situations where the parents are no longer together, looking at couples in relationship, and they have children,
Hmm.
a lot of times you see that um, a lot of parents may not work out together
Yeah.
in the relationship. Like, for whatever reason, the relationship is not working well, but they have children together and they want to
Hmm.
stay together for the sake of the children. Um, I, it's kind of hard to offer an opinion about that because it's going to depend on the person.
Yeah.
But what do you think about situations where, let's say, the mom and dad are not getting along, the relationship is not well, like it seems toxic. It seems like they're just not doing well together as a
A couple.
couple,
Yeah.
right? But they have kids,
Yeah.
and they want to stay together for the sake of the children. Like, so what's your opinion about those kind of dynamics?
It's different from here in Africa
Okay,
because Western world I see more bitter in it.
more bitter.
Yeah, like
Okay,
women's using the child as an instrument to get back at the father.
okay,
So I see a lot of toxicity on that area
okay.
where the dad is being deprived to see his son or his daughter,
Hmm.
and he's being tanked. And for a dad to see their child, he has to go to court and fight. So it's not like, oh, we're gonna do it together. No, it's gotta be a court involved. And most times the lady has the child, and sometimes you see ladies using that child as an instrument and corrupting the child's mind and letting the child know that the dad is whatever deadbeat, whatever they call it in English.
Okay.
So it becomes a toxic relationship with the
Mm,
father and the child, right?
okay.
Where where the father is struggling to spend time with his kid
Okay.
and make things right with the kid since it didn't work out with the mom.
Hmm.
And you have some moms that use the opportunity to make his life more miserable
Okay.
because the highest thing you can do to a man is deprive him of his child.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because that's our value. That's what we value.
Hmm.
That's why we get married. That's the most reason why, we cooperate in life, So it becomes toxic in some cases, and it affects the child.
Okay.
And it's really sad that a mother would, negatively impact the child mentally about his dad
Mm,
and negatively impact the father from having enough time to spend with the kid.
okay.
Then when you come to, let's say, Africa or other countries that's not
Mm,
a Western world, right?
hmm.
It's two families coming to agreement,
Okay.
you know. and they make it work, you might have some toxicity of mothers that try to use that against the father, right?
Mhm.
But in most cases, if it reflects back on them,
Okay.
because we have cultures and we have norms,
Okay.
and it's a societal acceptance and family.
Mhm.
And marriage back home is not only the two couple; it's
Mhm.
for both family.
Mhm.
So the man will call the girl's family. Everybody will sit at the table
Mhm.
and see how we can make it work for the best interest of the child.
Okay.
So it's two different constructs in the Western world
Okay.
and in Africa. So I see a lot of situation where men are being deprived time to see their child,
Okay.
and they have to go to court and fight just to be able to see their child, just to be able to pick up their child, just to be able to spend time with child, and it's sad
Mhm.
because that child is a product of the mom and dad.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So, but um, like I always say, the Western world, the hierarchy is one kid, two woman, three animal, and fourth man. So I'm not surprised. So that's my take on that question you asked.
So, okay, I hear you on that. I was more so talking about a man and a woman, parents who are not getting along well in their relationship, and they have a child or they have children,
Mm-hmm.
and they're choosing instead of separating, they're choosing to stay together to raise the child together. So they live in the same house
Mm-hmm.
with the child. And so I was curious about, your thoughts or your opinions about couples deciding to stay
Trust together.
together where even though like they are no longer getting along
Yeah.
together, they have fallen out of love with each other,
Yeah.
or it's just not working,
Yeah.
but they don't want to break up because they don't want to like have to do like you say, having to get the courts involved or the back and forth and all of that stuff with the child in the middle. They're choosing to stay together as a family unit to raise their child together. What do you
Mm.
think about a dynamic like that?
The dynamic depends because
Mm.
if it's not something like physical abuse, maybe like the mom and dad are fighting
Mm-hmm.
or their life is at threat,
Okay.
then I can understand.
Okay.
But if their life is not a threat and they just have disagreement and they
Mm-hmm.
don't feel each other
Mm-hmm.
in that way, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if they want to stay together to make it work for the kids,
Mm-hmm.
that's kudos on them because
Okay.
a kid needs the two parents to grow up right.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
most times.
Mm-hmm.
So while some parents they can buy a bigger house
Mm-hmm.
and become roommates.
Okay.
I mean, while some parents they can have like they can live in the same apartment complex.
Mm-hmm.
Like this one will be like living in, let's say 3G, and this
Mm-hmm.
one will be living in 3H.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they can swing into each other, they have keys to each other's apartment, but they're close to each other.
Okay.
And they can swing in and see the child.
Mm-hmm.
Some people do that,
Mm-hmm.
and the child is not gonna like maybe why dad, mom, why you guys living? Well, we just decided to shift a little bit so we can have extra space.
Okay.
So the child is not gonna feel that impact because it's still you guys still close to the
Mm.
child.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And maybe like at night when the child is going to sleep, the other person will go to their complex.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So some people make it work
Mm-hmm.
where they can still be there for the child
Yeah.
and they can show the child that they're together and they're loving.
Mm-hmm.
And I always advise people that if you want to train a child right, it's best for a child to grow with a mom and dad.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to do it the right way, but if you
Mm.
cannot,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
So for me, what I think about that is if it's not physical, it's a good idea if you guys able to do it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, and that's fair, and there are some dynamics where, the parents, they're choosing to stay as a unit to raise the child. And they may have different living arrangements depending on the size of their home. Mom and dad may not sleep in the same room at night. Dad has his own room, mom has her own room, but when they're around the child, they show united front, right? So
Yeah.
they try as much as possible to conceal from the
So,
child any issues that they may be having,
yeah,
together as a couple, and they want to show united front for the child. But there's always the opposite of that as
yeah,
well, where the child actually gets to see the toxicity between the parents and just the way how they talk to each other, the way how
mm-hmm,
they um, decide to handle conflict.
mm-hmm,
And I'm just curious to know from your perspective, in those situations where like the parents are not really doing a good job of concealing
mm-hmm,
like the animosity that they have toward each other, that the child is getting to see the arguments and just them not being loving to each other and all of that.
yeah.
Do you feel like that could have some like negative impacts on the child, even though like they're being raised by both parents in the home, but the home environment is not a loving and productive environment? Do you think that will have like a negative impact on the child?
Yeah, because kids pick up on character wise,
Mhm. Mhm.
and they grow up like that, thinking that is a good way to live.
Yeah.
That's why I said that um, if they can make it work
Mhm.
and not do that in front of the kid,
Yeah.
that would be a good co-parenting
Mhm.
sacrifice. Because people gotta understand that when you want to bring out a kid into the world, it's not
Mhm.
about you.
Mhm.
It's about the kid.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you want to raise that kid right to be able to produce next generation of your
Mhm.
lineage.
Mhm.
So when people understand it's not about me or
Yeah.
her, it's about the kid because the
Mhm.
kid didn't ask to come out of this world.
Sure. Yeah.
So you guys got to make it work because kids need two parents to grow up, right?
Mhm.
So you guys have options where you can live together in a bigger house
Yeah.
and act
Yeah.
like a like an actor without being in Hollywood,
Oh boy.
or you can be separate. Is it separate living, meaning
Mhm. Mhm.
you guys live in the same complex but
Mhm.
different
Sure.
apartment, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So that way, in the morning, let's say like in evening time, you you and you and your, let's say, the kid's mom
Mhm.
is spending time with the kid,
Mhm. Mhm.
one on one every day.
Mhm.
And then when the kid goes to sleep, then the other person can go to their apartment and sleep.
Sure.
So the kid is not gonna know like, my dad doesn't sleep yet until they grow up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then they ask question. And then some parents can say, we just decided
Mhm.
to have a bigger place. So I
Yeah.
decided, make
Yeah.
something out of it
Yeah.
until they grow. But when they grow up to be like understanding, maybe
Mhm.
16, 17, 18,
Mhm.
you have trained them well, where they start picking up life,
Mhm.
picking up, absorbing it to their own complexity,
Yeah. Yeah.
compared to growing up little and getting trauma and growing in that trauma, seeing
Mhm.
the dad and mom fight,
Mhm.
the mom get beat up or the dad get beat up.
Mhm.
I mean, that's not good. They grow up with that trauma
Yeah.
to the age of 16, 17. So they're processing life at itself at
Mhm.
a adolescent age, and
Mhm.
then processing the trauma also.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if it's gonna be combative, I advise separate living.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I just wanted to talk about that because a lot of couples, they tend to decide to go their separate ways
Yeah.
and work out like a co-parenting plan. Some do decide to, what, for the sake of the children, we will stay together because again, they realize like they need each other to raise these kids. They made them together, right?
Mhm.
And some people are able to successfully co-parent in a situation where like they are no longer in a loving relationship, but then you'll have in situations most of the times where they do go their separate ways and then have to kind of work out a parenting plan, on how to deal with the child. So I know you had mentioned earlier about, and that's just been the narrative here about women and how a lot of times women may use the child, to punish the father because, um, to be honest, they're probably upset that the relationship ended
Mhm.
and they want sometimes for him to feel the same level of pain that she may be feeling because the relationship is over.
Yeah.
So, like, to your point, sometimes they may hold the child over his head,
Mhm.
either like withhold the child from seeing their father, or mother. I mean, it can be, male or female, or, unfortunately tell the child you know, things that are inappropriate about the other parent. You
Yeah.
know, like they're a deadbeat or your mom ain't this or whatever the case may be,
Mm-hmm.
that's inappropriate to tell a child or to bring a child into adult
Mm-hmm.
business, right? My mom always used to say that. There used to be a lot of things that went on uh, for us as children, and like when we would want to ask questions about like why is this or why is that, her response would always be like, you need to stay in a child's place.
Mm-hmm.
This is adult business. But sometimes I think it's important to have the children, once they get to an age to where they're able to understand
Mm-hmm.
like what the dynamic is to be able to try to explain to them what's happening, so they're not in the dark. They don't have this like make believe thing of what they think is happening, but they're actually dealing in the reality of their home life. Um, so yeah, we do have situations now with the co-parenting.
Mm-hmm.
Moms typically here in the western part of the world, talking about United States, Europe, Canada,
Yeah.
where typically mom takes custody of the child. There may be even some situations where like say that you're not even with the person that you have a child with, so it might have been
Mm-hmm.
like a casual thing, and she gets pregnant
Yeah.
and decides to keep the baby, and you're like, well, I didn't really want a child.
Yeah.
I didn't really want a child, and so now you find yourself in a situation where like I don't want to say you're being forced to, but essentially like there's an obligation for
Yeah.
this child,
So
right?
yeah.
hmm So let's talk a little bit about that. So in those dynamics where it's like a casual interaction, and the woman becomes pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
and she decides to continue with the pregnancy and have the baby, but the guy is just like, we're not together. I don't know that I want to be a father right now,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like opting out of the situation. Like, what's your opinion about a dynamic like
I've seen stuff like
that?
that, and it's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
In the Western world,
Okay.
because it gets me amazed, right?
Okay.
Because in the Western world, life is not fair for men. Why I say that is because um, a man has no choice to not pay child support
Okay.
once he gets a woman pregnant.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But a woman has a choice to abort a child, whether the man wants, whether the man approves or not.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that don't make sense because I've seen a guy date a girl and she's pregnant and he's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I'm happy. Let's have this child. And she's like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want a child. I'm not ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to abort it. And he said, no, don't abort my child.
Mm-hmm.
That's my DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I don't care. And she goes and do what? Abort the child.
Okay.
Then I've seen a person, one of my friend, he was dating a girl,
Mm-hmm.
right? But he didn't want a future with the girl. He was
Okay.
just somebody that he spends time with,
Okay.
But the girl liked him, and the girl wanted a child.
Mm-hmm.
So she was on birth control, right?
Okay.
And she told my friend that she's on birth control, so she cannot get pregnant. So he
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't worry.
Mm-hmm.
So they were doing it, without, people
Mm-hmm.
like to eat the cookie without
Putting
uh
gloves on.
putting gloves on. Thank you. You know what I mean? So he was eating it because it's more sweet when you
mm-hmm.
eat it without gloves on.
Sure.
So he was enjoying it for a while, hoping that,
Mm-hmm.
everything's good. Not knowing this girl went back and took it off and didn't tell my friend.
Okay.
And my friend is like, business as usual.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 months later, she's pregnant.
Mm. Mm-mm.
My friend was like, what? You pregnant? She's like, yeah, I'm pregnant. But I told you I don't want a child right
Mm.
now. I
Yeah.
got bills, I got stuff to pay. I'm
Yeah.
young, I have so many family, I have so many. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
not ready for a child right now.
Mm-hmm.
That I was using protection, but you
Mm-hmm.
told me that you was gonna, be on birth control so
Mm-hmm.
that we can enjoy it to the maximum.
Mm-hmm.
But look at now. So what he says, you gotta abort the child. I'll
Mm.
pay.
Mm.
I'll give you money for the abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I'm not aborting that child.
Mm.
It became a big trend.
Yeah.
He begged her so much to do it. She's like, no, I'm
Mm.
not, but I'm having this child, whether you like it or not.
Wow.
What can my friend do?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
She had the child, and guess what? They called for child support.
Oh, jeez.
A child that he won. So the Western way of life is
Mm-hmm.
funny sometimes. We
Mm-hmm.
don't have that in Africa.
Okay.
A girl can never like get pregnant knowing that you don't want a child.
Mm.
and expect you to provide. No, that can never happen.
Okay.
Because um, if you and her are like have an agreement like that,
Mm-hmm.
she has no right to disobey it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
If she does it, it's on her own aggression.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, and like stuff like that, that's a wicked kind of a mentality.
Mm.
You can't force somebody to be a dad. You can't force somebody to pay for a child that he didn't want,
Mm-hmm.
and he was willing to pay for the abortion on the early time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she said no. So if you're saying no that you want a child, why not take care of the child 100%?
Mm-hmm.
I don't get that.
Yeah.
You have the child now. You're taking the brother to court
Yeah.
to get his money. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the brother feels betrayed.
Mm-hmm.
So I see a lot of that in the Western world
Mm-hmm.
where men don't have rights. When the woman is pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they don't have rights in paying child support
Mm.
because it's not fair that somebody don't want something and the woman went and did it behind his back
Okay.
and accepts him to pay for that child.
Yeah.
And then you have some laws in some state in America that if I'm dating a girl, right,
Mm-hmm.
and she get pregnant by another dude, and we like I'm married to her, or you know what I
That's
mean?
your child.
Yeah, they make it that I have to pay, I have to take care of their
Yeah,
child.
because you're married to the
That my
mom.
wife,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
My wife went out and cheated on me
Mm-hmm.
and have a child by another dude.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm married to her, I gotta take care of that child, whether I
Mm-hmm.
like it or not. I can divorce her today for cheating on me. The government don't care. I gotta pay child support.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's the more you're bearing the pain of being cheated at. The highest thing you can do to a man as a woman is cheat on your man. And you did that, and he found out that the child is not his, and he's angry and he's pissed and he's ended the relation, the marriage, and they tell him, "Oh, sorry, John, you gotta pay child support
Mm-hmm.
for a child that's not yours."
Mm-hmm.
That's unbelievable. So I've seen many cases. I said,
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it. Who makes these laws?
Yeah.
How can somebody pay child support for a child that's not his? And people don't realize child support is a lot of money
Mm-hmm.
because I think that's like almost 20 to 30% of what you make.
Mm.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of money. Yeah.
You can't even live in this country with a normal salary or pay. Talk
Mm-hmm.
more of dividing and giving it to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes a trend that if you live in the Western world, my African brothers and sisters, you gotta be 100% careful with these ladies, man, for real, because it's like a fish hunt. You never know who's the hunter and who's the fish. So stuff like that is sad. We don't have that in Africa. That you can't see that because in Africa, if you get pregnant and the guy is not willing to take you, you got to take care of the child.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's gonna pity you. Nobody's gonna help you. Your family might help you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But you gotta bear the consequence of the condemnation of having a child out of wedlock.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it shows that the culture, we still maintain the culture, the value. That's why you see less baby mama,
Okay.
or you see less women that have kids outside of wedlock.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Why in the Western world you see a lampart of ladies that are single moms. Like a
Mm-hmm.
trend.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a celebration. It's like an achievement.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like welcome to the single mom club.
Mm.
you know. So it's really sad what I see here,
Yeah.
and I can feel the brothers, and I can feel men's are not happy because we don't have rights in this country according to the laws. I don't know who makes these laws. You know what I mean? So that's my take on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was a lot that you shared there. So I'm trying to take bits and pieces of what you shared. A lot of it is true, unfortunately. But here's the thing: when it comes to people engaging in sexual activity, whether the young lady is on birth control or not, there is always a chance, that someone could end up pregnant. You know, the birth control could fail, the contraceptive could fail. So nothing, as you always say, nothing's 100%
Yeah.
right. So even if she was still taking the birth control regularly, things could happen where she could still become pregnant, right?
Yeah.
And I think people need to be realistic. When you lay down to have sex with somebody, there's always a likelihood that something could happen.
Mhm.
And if you're not ready for whatever is to come, whatever that responsibility is, then you need to really consider who you're sleeping with, right? So, I mean, in this day and age, casual sex is the thing. So people, they go out, they meet people, they hook up,
Mhm.
and it's like, you have a situationship or just someone that you call up whenever you need your fix. And unfortunately, from those kind of interactions, a lot of pregnancies, a lot of children are coming
Yeah.
from those interactions, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, like these people, they don't want to be together. It was just a hookup, it
Yeah.
was just, having a good time, and now somebody's pregnant, and like for whatever reason, it could be, religious reasons, it could be whatever. The woman may decide to keep the baby, and the guy may not be happy about that. And yeah, in this part of the world, women do have the right to reproductive freedom, be it that, she has the right to decide if she would like to keep the baby and
Mhm.
have the baby full term, or she can decide to terminate the pregnancy. Um, so, I think that kind of lends into a different discussion. I don't know that I want to go, quite there with that. But yeah, so women have the right to make those decisions.
Mhm.
So I think, just knowing who you're interacting with, who you are laying down with, and that there could be a likelihood that you could end up pregnant. Is this someone that you want to share a child with?
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
think if a lot of us really sat back and thought about that, we probably wouldn't be having casual sex with people, because you just think about like the individual. If you don't really like their ways or how they talk to you or how they interact with you, but you're steady giving yourself to them physically, and then you become pregnant and you have to now share a baby with them, God bless you on that. But so that's interesting. Like in African culture, like that's not really a thing, as far as
Mhm.
like there being an understanding that the guy doesn't want to have children, but she
Yeah.
gets pregnant and she decides if she wants to have the child. There's no, oh, we're gonna put him on child support, he's gonna have to support the child. Like, no, you're on your own because
Yeah.
he said that he doesn't want the child. Okay. I mean, there are some instances as well here, where women get pregnant, and they realize, or they know that there's really nothing that's going to come out of this interaction with the guy,
Mhm.
and they essentially was like, you don't have to worry about it. I got it.
Mhm.
You know, does that happen often?
Nah.
No, but it does happen.
Mhm.
There are scenarios where, like, he is opting to just not be involved, and she's completely fine with that. And there's no getting the courts involved and requesting child support. She's just doing what she needs to do to raise the child the best that she can.
Yeah.
And, is that the most ideal situation? I don't think so. But people make decisions based on, what they feel is the best decision for them in that moment.
Mhm.
So I know you've made a lot of like delineations between like American or Western culture and African culture. And I know one of the things that you and I had talked about some years ago with with individuals who have children with Americans,
Mhm.
and how you have this tale of two cultures, right?
Yeah.
And different ways of thinking, different ways of raising your children, different experiences. And me being a woman from the Caribbean, I would want my children to be exposed to my culture.
Yes.
The living on the island, the food, the language, just everything that kind of wraps up the way how I was raised. I would want my children to experience that as well. So I know that you had mentioned um, allowing the child to, go to Africa and spend some years there where
Yeah.
they get to interact with the other parent's family and learn the culture, the language, maybe go to school there,
Hmm.
and not like spend summers or something, but actually spend some substantial time. And for me, thinking from like a mother perspective, like I
Yeah.
can't even imagine allowing my child to go away. Summer is cool, but like for years
Yeah.
where like they're in a country I know nothing about, with people, even though that they are the family of my child's father,
Yeah.
I don't know these people. So like that's an immense amount of trust
Yeah.
that you need to have, in your child's other parent and in the people that they are allowing to raise your child. So let's talk a
Mhm.
little bit about, kind of that, dynamic about the child going to your homeland
Mhm.
to have that experience. So like kind of walk me through, that.